Cool. So today what I want to go over is these topics. So more fundamentals, deployment phase strategies. We just break that down into using terrain and where to put the Realmshaper. So deployment with thinking turns ahead of where we want our units to be. And very important for Seraphon, since we have very few rules at all, use every rule we can. And I wrote down this because we often forget that Kroak is eligible to be a guarded hero, meaning he's -1 to be shot at when he is nearby other units. So if we pull up that rule, guarded hero, if the hero is within combat range of a friendly unit that is not a hero. So he could be within range of any of these, 3 inches. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for shooting attacks that target this hero, full stop. That's Kroak. If they're infantry, you can't shoot him. Ignore that part. He doesn't have infantry. He's -1 to be hit. Always, forever. He's always within 3 of these. In shooting, he's always -1 to be hit. And then, where do we move in turn 1 after we deploy? And then I had a few people ask questions that I banked that I can try to answer at the end. All right, we'll make it short and sharp. Let's try to keep this under 20 minutes. So what's time? Cool, let's do it. So we're going to use our Kroaknado list once again with Kroak, Carno, double reinforced Saurus Guard, Sunblood Pack, new unit, the Bolas, Kroxigor. We're taking an engine because we had 20 points, and the spine. All right, let's go. So what I want to show is this battle plan. Bountiful Equinox. Always look at this first. This is how I do it. And then we look at underdog. We heal 3 if you're underdog for each unit contesting an objective. Might be good, especially in Kroxigor. Take it if we can. So that just means it could be on that one, or that one and that one. Is it going to be impactful? Probably not. Carnosaur, we need to remember he could heal very easily off that. All right, 5 victory points for controlling 1, so every turn both players are always going to get 5. Keep that in mind. Keeps the scoring tighter, makes battle tactics more important. Next, score 3 victory points if you control 2 or more objectives. Both players are almost always going to do that too, meaning both players are automatically scoring 8 just about every single round. What does that mean? It means the game primary scoring is automatically even or close to, therefore battle tactics are vastly more important. Score 2 if you control at least a red, green, and blue. So you've got to hold the middle and then a green or a red. How would that work? You just hold your bases in the middle and then you get the extra 2 points. Next thing, definitely always want to consider is the places of power. So there's 4, and they're all on the sides here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't like places of power. We want them to be nuked off the planet. The fact of they can create obscuring. So what we don't like is things like this. There's a unit, there's a hero. Units on here, heroes here. Hero turns this objective obscuring. Kroak sitting here. Kroak sitting central. Very aggressive Kroak. In our territory usually. Can't touch them, can't see them. So these 2 objectives could eventually become obscuring. This one not. Keep that in mind. That's a nice objective. Okay. good players are going to do that to us because that's what they do. They use their rules well. That's why we need to use our rules, our limited rules well. Okay, and then these forests. So these are all obscuring. So things can remain hidden. For example, the way an opponent would want to do this is just set up here. Cool. Kroak's not going to touch them. They could come up for a little flank play, we'll call it, like that, and say this is a buffing hero. He can sit here within an inch or on. And he's got his buff range. Even if it's within 18 of Kroak, who's sitting here, he doesn't care. He's laughing at Kroak because Kroak can't see him and can't hurt him. And he can still push forwards, buff his models. He can technically push all the way up to here if he wants it. Kroak still can't see him. So they're heroes that we like to snipe are going to be sitting here, or probably here and here. They can also be sitting on place of power that's also obscuring, or here. So what might end up, so tokens make it easy to see. So invisible, or on that, and that, and that, and that. So there's 5 invisible areas, and there'll be 6 and 7 eventually after 2 turns. They roll their 3 ups. So in other words, Kroak's not sniping any heroes unless they put them here, which they're not. But that means we know they're not going to be there. We're not going to be able to snipe any units except for fly and monsters, unless they want the middle objective. Alright, so we just have to play around that. Alright, now, after obscuring, we look at the territories. Great, we got the halfway one. That's good for us. That is one of our rules that we do have. That is a rule, that, or almost the rule that we have in our army. Great, we'll use it. We don't always get it. Most battle plans don't have it. Alright, so so we're looking at terrain. So this is dot point 1. So we looked at the terrain, we looked at the battle plan, and now we roll off with our opponent and we put down terrain. Okay, this has to be outside of 3 of other terrain features. It's quite limiting in most plans. It can be up to the edge of here, 3 inches from that objective, which is the ring. Obviously, it can't be here because it needs to be 3 inches away. But I do want to make a point that if this wasn't here, we can put this all the way up to there. You can deploy your shaper up to halfway if that's our territory. That can be good to do a forward shaper play. The reason being, sometimes putting it back into a corner, just say put it here, and as our army and castle pushes up and we're all sitting around here brawling, an opponent has a teleport. Cruel Boys are a good example. They can just teleport to a terrain feature here and land and take it. Or they could, if we have, let's say, the Carnosaur here, these guys can one-shot the Carnosaur, the monster killers. He's here zoning off the objective. He's not. There's the 9-inch. They go here. They go there. They get their 3-inch charge. Let them roll a charge. They got an 8. 8 should fail. We zoned them out. So where's the 9? That's 9 inches. They can actually go up to here. There's the 9. They rolled an 8. It should fail. It doesn't. They just take the 8 and go there and make sure it's a legal charge onto the shaper. Bang. Putting it up forward, where our army might be brawling, we'll have to ignore that it's an illegal placement. Putting it up forward can be good for the reason that, 1, we might have units here, particularly Kroak. Now he's got another screen. He's got a 15 health, 4+ save screen. Right, that's great. And if you just keep him more than 6 inches from the front, which will always happen, it means that they can't send in Kragnos and a Mangler to do a play like, let's say the Kragnos goes into here, Kragnos attacks the Shaper, that's a win for us anyway, and then Mangler tries to come in, 3 can't get there. It's a good screen. We use it as a screen. We like to use its rules as well, but it can be a forward screen. And then the other benefit is obviously using the rules. If it's set up there, we should deploy here so that we can tap terrain and blow it up because we have a wizard within 3. The other thing is, if the enemy is within 9, meaning this entire objective, we're +1 to hit for almost every unit in our army, which is fantastic. Also, we'll cover most of this objective and here and here. And if we're keeping our army here and we're playing Kroaknado and they're coming to us, we might get mostly army-wide +1 to hit. We never all-out attack anyway, so +1 to hit for free is amazing. And because we have our army around here, this unit should be split into 2 5s. And it doesn't have to be, but that's how I'll go back to the first video to talk about the pros and cons of that. Mainly because we've got the Sunblood Pack. We're brawling around here. They can't really use the engine so easily to snipe Kroak now. There's no like deep strike behind. We just do the standard zone 9 inches. Much easier for us to manage territory without people using jank. And the other thing is, sure, they can use jank. They could run the jank that they can do against us. Remember, we can do this with opponent's terrain, but ours is a bigger liability than most others, and we have to pay for ours. If they can't move and make the distance like that, and they know it's a big charge, obviously they could just charge here, and then as long as they're 6 inches, they do their 3 and attack. Yeah. So that can be abused. The other thing is, if they don't trust that, and just say that this moves flat 10, they just auto run at 16. Now it can't charge, but it's in the combat phase, it can still pile in an attack. So they spent a CP to guarantee a fight without even charging. Yeah. If during the game we're up to here though, and we're fighting up here, and Kroak's here, and we have guard somewhere here, this guy's over here, who cares if they're doing a bit of jank to hit there or hit there? We +1 to hit. We zoning. We might be able to have say they're here. So we're actually around it. Now they can't actually abuse it as easily. So there's merits to it, but people will try to abuse it to us, and people can take advantage of the engine more than we can take advantage of the engine in most scenarios. Which is a similar concept that we should be able to take advantage of people's endless spells more than they can take advantage of their endless spells. But that can be a talk for another time. All right. So we're talking about Realmshaper. So that's my little spiel with Realmshaper. Let's go with where we're going to put it. So again, if an opponent has a teleport, don't take it. We're just -20 to our army. They don't have a teleport. Let's just say they're Archaon's list. They don't have a teleport. Okay, where can we put it? It has to be a legal spot. Well, I'm thinking we can't do I was looking for a forward placement. There's nowhere at all. All of this is within 3 of a terrain feature. So the best we can do is somewhere here or here. It's symmetrical. Just pick this side. Go up to the 3. Might as well get as close as we can. Something like that. And not on the objective. Lock that in place. Before we make the decision though, before we lock it in, We check how many terrain features can we tap. 24 inches. We've got that. We've got that. And we've got that. We have these 3. So the only 2 on the map that we can't touch are these 2. That's pretty good overall. Excellent. We'll take that. What's our 9-inch bubble covering? Only up to here. So anywhere along here, not great. Can't do much about that. We would love if the opponent came into that. Okay. That's that setup. That's the shaper. Future planning and putting units down. Okay. So where's our drops? Change color. We'll change the color of this unit. Of a green and a red, and we'll keep the other unit brown. All right. So there's our drops. All right. So putting one down before the other is going to reveal a lot of information. Yes and no with our list. It's less important with our list. Obviously, this will have 2 units on the table. This will have more. For simplicity, I'm actually going to drop this because I want to know where the Krox are going to go, and I don't want the Krox to be in the way of everything else, and I don't think it's too much of a liability revealing where these guys go, because it's fairly obvious. First of all, Kroak wants to be within 3 of a Realmshaper so we can activate its blow up a terrain ability. That's a simple. Okay. He's not going to go down first. And we got to think these units want to be within 3 of him, or most of them. Okay, what have we got? We've got terrain and future planning. Well, the future plan could be, we do have our Kroaknado castle. This is a good objective to sit on for -1 to hit. This is good for -1 to hit if we're sitting around here, and we can be forming castles around here. Okay, we want to be zoning off so no one can get an easy less than 9-inch deep strike into this. So a unit's going to have to go here. So how are we going to do this? We'll probably put this unit down first. This seems the most simple solution. You want to space them out 0.5 as best as you can. You want a bigger footprint. Okay. All wholly on the terrain, so they're going to be -1 to be hit. If they're being hit, they're all obviously obscured. They can't be shot. That's also nice. Now next might be Kroak. So he wants to be within 3. Now, when we measure with Kroak, we've got a few things that we have to consider. First of all, 18 inches. We might as well cover this objective. They will never be obscured on this objective, we've discovered. Perfect. If they walk onto it, we can tap them with Celestial Deliverance. We've covered this side. We've covered half of this side. We'll see what we can do about that later. We're obviously within 3 of the terrain. We're within 3 of these guys. Cool. Next is wholly within 12. Our only spell that we might cast from our spell lore, run and charge. Cool. So we want most of our units within that bubble. That seems doable. Great. Now, keep the 3-inch up. Let's put the next Saurus Guard unit down. These guys can be about here. And then we're talking about how far up to our edge of deployment. So on this battle plan, we're 18 inches away. Depends what we're playing against. Archaon, Vanguard can obviously move 14. Well, he can move 14 and get a 4-inch charge. Okay. We would like to keep that in mind. Does that mean we deploy all the way back here? Potentially. Should we? I think with our list, no, because we'd be quite happy if he wants to come meet our army here. Vanguard as well makes it a bit harder, but that's we're talking about matchup deployments, which is relevant, but right now we're going through fundamentals. I think would be fine is this as a generic deployment against anyone. All right, we've got 3 inches. We're spacing them out 0.5. We want more space, but we also want them to be clustered close to each other. So we want them all to be in combat with whatever comes in, if it comes in. Next, Sunblood Pack. important 12-inch bubbles with these guys. So maybe here. That's going to cover up to there. Cool. And this guy, I'm moving them down in this direction because I want to go this way to cover that zoning unit. Cool. They don't need to be within 3 of Kroak, but they just happen to be in the middle of the army. Now, last unit, pull up our run and charge spell. These guys, you never know, they might want to be running and charging. Doubt it, but they might. We need to have every possibility be an option. They're wholly within 12 of Sunblood. They're wholly within 12 of Kroak. They're not within 3 of Kroak. They don't have a 5-up ward. We can't... There's a reason why we split these into 5. Sometimes we just need to project further with our territory. They're still tanky. They just don't have a 5-up ward. Maybe that's a threat for the opponent. The opponent might look at this and go, okay, a unit of 5, no 5-up ward. There's a flank. Okay, we like that. Kroak can hit them. We're +1 to hit against them, etc. It's okay. It could be considered a weak flank, but it's also potential misplay by the opponent. All right, so we're happy with that so far. Next, opponent would drop theirs, and then it's our turn. I'll do Huanchi last. So there is a debate whether we place them on the table or not. All right. We love this guy being around places of power for the fact that he can heal too if he's taken damage. So within 3 of this, wholly within 6 so we can get the heal, and we want him on the objective. Because we're not putting the Krox out here, we're putting this fast Carnosaur who can return home quicker if needed. Wholly within 6, towing the objective within 3. He's further back. Cool. So if we're thinking of a 14-inch Archaon, it's 14. Do they want to go for it? An 8-inch with a redeploy? I doubt that the opponent wants that. If we roll a 1, it's still a 9-inch charge. Now, these guys, let's pull up our bubbles. Obviously, he's outside of all of our bubbles. He's also outside of our here. If he gets hit by someone, most likely Kroak can't hit him back. But what we've done is we've zoned this out. So if someone wants to attach this objective, outside of Kroak's 18-inch, sure, they can risk that with the Carnosaur countercharge. Okay, Kroxigor. These 2 things to think about. Where do they want to go later in the game? So we're thinking about future planning. It looks like they're going to want to be wholly within 12 of Kroak at all times for run and charge, so they can move 12 if they have to. Because if they set up stringed out, for example, they could move 12. They could move 12 if they need to get over here. And obviously they could move 12. That's actually quite a good projection. We prefer them not to be spread out, just in case they get tagged on one end and these guys can't pile in and attack. We do play them pretty basic, like a block, in the way that you would imagine they would be. And that way if they get hit, everyone's still getting in with a pile in. Maybe the big weapons spread on the front, like this. Now, it'd be great for them to be minus to hit, but they're not at the moment. If we're against a big shooting army, well, we're going to be obscured like that. Make it simple. And if they're not, it doesn't matter. But we're going to set these up something like this. We need to get the Sunblood Pack. They definitely want to be wholly within 12. We might even push these guys all the way up to here. The reason being, maybe like that. The reason being, now turn 1, they can potentially move 12 and smack things. If something wants to come down and play with our Carnosaur, they can move 12. Obviously, they might just be going 6, but they've got the reach now. If something wants to come in and try to get them, they've hit the edge of this castle. We've got Kroak, Sunblood, Carno. Okay, so maybe we do something like this for these guys. Maybe this one's spread further out, just in case we want to move this direction. He's helping us. Okay. That may be our deployment. Now we need to think of battle traits. So almost always, well, on this battle plan, it makes it easy. Almost always we'll be picking this. Subtract 1 from the rend. Great, so now we know so that comes to use every rule we can. All right. Use every single rule we can. First of all, we don't have many, so it's easy to remember. This rule. This tells me we are almost never leaving our territory. We are almost never walking past here. We can win the game without walking past there. Cool. That's one thing. Next, try to always keep Kroak within 3 of the Realmshaper if we want to be blowing up terrain. That's a rule. This one, wholly within 9, +1 to hit. Enemy within 9, +1 to hit. That may not be happening. That's out of our control. Obviously, we use it when it's there. The rules that we like to always keep in mind is run and charge spell. The rest, wholly within 12 of this unit. So we always want to be keeping these guys wholly within 12 of them, wholly within 12 of him, so we've got mobility. They're the rules. We don't have many. Then we've got the pile-ins that we talked about last video. That's another rule. Okay. And this rule, wholly within 6 of this, just for now. Guarded hero, I made that point. If Kroak can be shot, people love to kill him and shoot him. He'll be -1 to hit. Don't forget. It's very important. Because we don't subtract rend from shooting, unfortunately. Okay, and we've got Krondspine on the list. Movement. Okay, next Huanchi. So Huanchi, these are Bolas. The way that we like to play, I want to make a point of what we can do when we play them, and then whether we leave them in the sky or not. On a battle plan like this, we would consider opponent can fairly easy castle up on these. We're not going to be able to just drop and take, most likely. So therefore, there's a good argument to say we're deploying them on the table somewhere. Let's just say, for example, here, or if the opponent has obscuring here, so they can't be shot. Here, they can even go fairly central. There's no shooting. All right. The way that we like to play these is it can be good, but it requires a bit of luck as well. But the optimal play is so what we could potentially do is something like this. Their ability to reduce the dice roll to 1d6 on the opponent's charge lasts until our next hero phase. So, in an ideal world, what might happen is, let's say they're up in the sky this time. We are going first. We drop them down. We're 10 inches away from both units, so we can shoot at either. Therefore, because what the opponent will do is, oh no, I don't want Archaon to be affected. I'm redeploying. They roll a 1. And they're out of range already. So we only can hit this guy. We hit this guy, we do 0 damage or 1 damage. We roll our ability. That's Seraphon for you. We roll again, it goes off. Alright, great. We'll just call it a debuff. He's only now Gobsprak, whose movement is 12, who could have done something like this, cannot make that charge. The best he can move is 6 with his charge. Okay, now it's the opponent's turn. He moves his units. He moves Gobsprak somewhere else because he knows he can't get a charge in. He might even go here for a 3-inch charge. Makes sense. And in an ideal world, we would have these guys block this off. So if he failed the charge, he doesn't get on. However, we couldn't if they deployed right on the line. But if they deployed a bit further back, we can do that. Okay, so he's gone in for his 3-inch charge. let's just say it's exactly 3. Cool. And then Archaon comes in for an exactly 3-inch charge too. But the opponent doesn't necessarily specify that one's closer than the other, meaning we can just choose our target. We we do shoot in again, and we spend our CP and shoot into Kroak, into Archaon. He's debuffed as well. Now they both only have 1 dice to roll. It's not perfect, and you wouldn't want to put them in the middle of the board. So my example is just saying to people, we can do this in our turn, do this in their turn with the 1 unit and have 2 units debuffed. However, you do not play them like that because you're just giving your opponent 2 3-inch. They're just going to get the charge. So they're going to roll a dice and roll a 4. They're going to roll a 6. Even if they roll a 2, they can re-roll it. But they've got 2 attempts with 2 units. The way that you would prefer to play them, let's say we started them on the table. The opponent goes first. They just moved. Now it's our turn. Come up on the side. Pull them away. You could even, what you do is get a bit closer. So if they redeploy, you might have range still. You debuff him. Right? You would prefer that there is no other enemy units nearby. So these guys like to isolate and pick 1 unit. That's what they like to do. So there's no other units nearby. So he's the only one. So there's nothing here as well, because otherwise that's coming in. Now he has to go here or go somewhere else and he's debuffed. Because we prefer not to countershoot in their turn. We prefer, if the ability's gone off, we 100% prefer redeploy. Because that just means if we roll a 4, they can't charge because we'll move 7 inches away. So that's the best play for these guys. It's to pick someone off usually on a flank, only because they're by themselves, hit it, get the ability off, and then that unit, we know we can always reactionary redeploy, and these guys are alive because there's not another unit that can come in and get them. And then if the opponent wins the turn, again, they go to here, we redeploy. We've locked it down for 2 turns. That would be the perfect situation. What you don't want is this unit to have 2 charge options. So say we've got this up here, here. We hit Archaon. We drop down, we hit him with the ability. Now it's over to their turn. They go to here, 3-inch charge. That's the worst case scenario because we redeploy 1, he can still just roll a 4. So these guys think about it as they like 1v1s. They want to do 1v1s only. Don't want our units nearby because that compromises the play. We don't want enemy units nearby. They're going to win the 1v1s because the ability goes off and they just keep redeploying. Or the opponent leaves and then cool. It's an 18-inch threat range. You move your 8, shoot 10. There might be another eligible target. So they think of them now in your mind as 1v1 unit. Okay. On this, we'll make it simple. These guys are starting off the table for now. All right. Movement, turn 1. Let's quickly run through that and then wrap it up because it's been 20 minutes. All right. What are we thinking? So we would give the opponent their turn 1 and see what they do first. Let's just go through what we would do irrespective of what they do potentially. Remember, we like to play slow, play slow, play slow. So we're not going to just get the run charge spell, move these guys here and charge. We're not. We want the threat there because maybe the opponent puts all their best things there and we can do that to win the game early, but we are just going to play slow. No fights for the first 2 turns, remember? How do we do that? We look like a very scary castle that no one wants to hit. All right, which we do look like. So what are we doing? We're moving. We'll cast our spells. Unfortunately with Seraphon, we have no good spells to cast if the opponent's not within 18 of Kroak and we aren't wanting to run and charge. Krondspine, Sure. Do what we normally do with him. He's countercasted. He's off to do his thing. So he'll be about here, potentially. That gives us maybe a counter charge somewhere. Anyway, let's say we fail it. What are we going to do with our movement? So there's a potential to get a unit up on here for -1 to hit, but they're going to be outside of 3 from Kroak. These guys are wanting to stay here. I'll emphasize that point real quick. Let's say they're... we'll just use a single unit. It's easier to demonstrate. 9-inch. Yep, great, 9-inch charge. If they want to do that, they can do that. However, if our unit suddenly starts moving up all the way up here, what can happen is they can go 9 inches away and then just do their charge and get onto the objective there, charging into this. So there's a reason why these guys are staying here for most of the game. Cool. We don't have to think about that. The rest. All right. What could we do? Let's say these guys are going to run up to the objective. So we'll roll. There you go. 11-inch. Remember, they want to be touching. Let's say we scared the opponent off wanting to toe tap the objective because of Kroak's spell. So we'll pull them back. We only need 1 unit, 1 model to touch. We want to pull them back for the fact that we want Kroak to be within 3 inches of them. So let's do that. We might just make sure Kroak gets there next. Runs 10. So now with his positioning, we've got to think about this. We're going to move out of our 12-inch bubble here. We're going to forgo this. They're moving 12 anyway, 11 anyway. What's the benefit? Not much. So he's got the 3 here. Do we want to play a little bit more aggressive? He doesn't get benefit from sitting in this, so maybe we do. That's what we've covered now. Let's play a little bit more aggressive. So he had the chance to. So he's going to go all the way up here. We're playing slow, but we can still project power. And this still could be considered safe. There's our 18-inch. About there. Alright, next. These guys. We want to make sure Kroxigor covered on this flank with these guys. So where they're going up to there. And we also want, if we're getting charged, these guys do want to be in combat, so get them all the way up. Maybe like that. And we'll spread them back this way. See if we can cover that unit. So potentially the play might be this. We'll do that. In fact, that just means I might just do that. Sure. Sometimes it's, if these threatening things, let's say Archaon's really threatening, we think he can kill Kroak or this Vanguard, we can simply zone off that. Let's keep a little gap. Because there isn't something we know that can one-shot Kroak in their army at the moment. Do that. Where's our 12-inch there? Okay. We might move these guys next. These guys might be as simple as shuffle them up a bit. Go up to the 12-inch bubble there. The Sunblood Pack rule. That seems reasonable. Now, 3-inch bubble for Kroak. These guys run 8. So there we go. There's a 3-inch. They might even go all the way like this. So we've made that cluster. Next, over here, all within 12. Got to keep that in mind. These guys, there's 2 options. We can just go -1 to hit. What are you going to do? Cool. That seems like a very good option. We might take that. What's the other options? What? Stand here? Yeah, we can. We've got some extra movement. We've got an extra movement phase of movement, but why? Are we trying to project power? Potentially. But we're playing slow as well. So we're going here. And that was another reason why Kroak actually moved further forward, because if he's here, we can't fit these guys on. So it was a bit of future thinking. Potentially bring this guy further across for the fact that if, I don't know, something comes this direction, we do have that to get this unit that direction, but we don't want to spread the unit out too much. So the main principle is probably like that. It's 5 here, 1 that side. Get every millimeter you can, great, something like that. We're within 12 of Sunblood Pack, we're within 12 of Kroak. Here, this guy, he deployed like that, didn't he? On the, so, and hold within 6 of this. Let's say with him, we are going to auto run him, we spend a CP. So we countercasted earlier, we failed it. So he's going 16. Why? Because we want to do something with this guy. And it's definitely not send him up forward. So, but we can go 16. That's an option. We're in the Sunblood Pack there. I don't like it because he's feels vulnerable. He's a lot weaker than every other unit in our army in terms of defense and health. So let's not do that. We're going to go. We want to get into the auras. That's why we auto run him. So 16. We could have finessed that a bit better. So something like that. That's all right for now. These guys would have been positioned to spread more, like that potentially as well. But that means we're pulling in these guys as well. We don't really want to do. So it's a bit of a trade-off. So we'll keep it as is, something like that. Okay, we've abandoned that objective. Okay. Bit scary. Someone takes it. Do they claim extra points? No, they only claim extra points if they hold the middle. Because they have to hold a red, a blue, and a green. They might hold more, though. That's one thing. Depends on what the opponent's army is. But if they have only valuable units, which a lot of armies are taking now, like we have only valuable units. Huanchi I consider valuable, not a throwaway. So we're not going to throw anything there if that's what the opponent left. Maybe they don't have anything to throw away that's valuable, so they don't do it. Or maybe they put something valuable there. We've got our 10-inch move and fight in our turn. The other thing you might consider is he's moved away from place of power, which is sad. Here, he's still closer to our castle. 12-inch is not there, which is sad, and our Sunblood is not there. That is another possibility. But I liked him tucked in for now. Remember, he's only control 5. Even if he's like this, and the opponent really wants it with some things, they could still do it without killing him. Alright, that's our turn 1. So we have moved forwards to claim the objective, and it has felt aggressive. We can always reposition maybe like this. That might be considered a bit better. We don't want things hanging out the side where we can get hit and nothing else is hitting back. So there is definitely argument to say that's better. Similarly on this side, although we have 2 units here, so that might be considered reasonable. Where's the weakness to the castle? I would say that there isn't necessarily a weak spot. Someone might say this unit's out by themselves, come hit them. Sure. We do have a 10-inch move, potentially 16-inch move with Carno. That could be the play. Keeping the Crocs ready for the big brawl, that would be a better play. Another weakness, getting in here. No, we've zoned it. A weakness could be we've just left this open, but Carno again. So Carno being central is helpful with his mobility. He's got all the mobility in the army. Obviously, the other thing we could have done is Krondspine and left it somewhere, we countercast it and we put it somewhere here, sure, it's a screen. I prefer it to be aggressive. I prefer to be using it and sending it and hitting things. It's one of our units that's disposable that can get free cheap shots. So probably not do that. It'd be going in to fight. So that's the turn 1 end of movement. Turn 2, again, we're happy not to fight. We're happy to just to score again and do this and fall a little bit behind. Cool. All right, final things. And Huanchi, turn 1. There's reasons to put them down and reasons not to. If we're keeping them in the sky, often it might be a good thing to keep them in the sky, unless we think that there's a threat really far away that we can 1v1. Then it's worthwhile dropping. All right, last thing is the Q&As from the channel. I'll go through these quickly. One question I had about your Kroak list: if you don't have Krondspine or Forbidden Power, which manifestations would you use? I was wondering about Aetherort for Cogs, -1 to hit on Kroak and Pendulum. Yep, good question. All right, so yes, Krondspine. There's a reason why we're taking Krondspines, because we're a single wizard list. Kroak wants to be doing Celestial Deliverance and countercasting Krondspine. That's the reason why it's good, and we have an extra unit that we can keep bringing in. There is potential for Forbidden Power, as you mentioned, because it gives us access to Bridge for more mobility, and we can block up the board quite well with these 4 things. I'll do that on a talk about this on a different day. They're not as tanky as they used to be, but they still are good at doing things like this. And this can also just deny the deep strikes. But your question was, excluding those 2, because we know that they work quite well with our lists, what would I consider? I would consider 2 other things. So Morbid is always considered, because we can still get great value of Purple Sun, -1 to, we get extra rend on Kroxigor, and so we're rend 2 army wide with that. This is still doing a lot of damage on the charge and useful. This synergizes quite well with our Kroak Bomb. However, if we're in range to do Kroak Bomb, we're probably doing that as opposed to this. But if someone's 21 inches away, this can tap them. And this situationally can be amazing to do mortal wounds on everyone, but it's finicky, and we usually have to abuse someone's terrain to get it off, because it needs to survive to the end of the turn. Talk about it another day. So what would I pick? Yep, the one you suggested here. Not this. That's better for our monster list. Not this. There's an argument to take Geminids, but no, this is great. So this could be the other option. And there is definitely an argument to say this can fit in our current list right now. It fits in with points, so it works. Yep, cool. This can hop down. Kroak is -1 to be hit now, meaning he's -1 to be hit in shooting. He's already -1 to be hit in shooting. He'll be -2 to be hit in shooting. He'll be -1 to be hit in combat. He's ignoring 1 Pippa Rend. He's got his 4-up ward. He's quite tanky. He could tank a lot of things. He would take minimal damage from Archaon. As an example, Slayer of Kings, 2s and 3s. We'll give this guy Khorne, so he's got 5 attacks. 2s and 3s. No double 6s. I'll make Archaon a bit better. There you go. He got 2 through. Yeah, what's the rend? 2, so the rend's 1. Anti-hero, so it's rend 3, which becomes rend 2. We all out defense. So it becomes rend 1. Rend 3 to rend 1. That still goes through. That saves. Damage, 3. Cool, we'll remember 3. Next, 6 attacks becomes 7 attacks. Cool. 4s and 2s, so it's Oh, so, I'm -1 to hit. So, and he all-out attacked. So it's still 4s and 2s. I didn't do that earlier. I'll make my point even better. -2 rend, which is effective -0 rend. 1. So that's an extra 3 damage. And then the big 3 attacks, which would be 4 attacks. Boom. So remember, he's -1 to be hit, but he's all out attack, so it's 3s still and 2s. Sure, 1 missed. Alright, we roll the saves. Cool, we rolled. So it's -1 rend. -1 rend becomes 0 rend, all that defense. We're a 3 up. We failed 2. Good. So that's a bad roll for us. That's 10 more damage. We took 15. On that last roll, though, we could have taken 0 if we didn't roll. If we rolled anything above a 2. Still, are we afraid? Maybe more so, but we took 4 damage. Or you could say we take 7 if you want to just do averages. Okay. So Cog's great, minus to hit on Kroak. And the other very good thing is, swords is swords. But this can be used quite well. So let's just say it is Archaon coming in. Say Archaon knows he wants to come in over here. We can see him doing this. We countercast to here. He knows he can't be within 3 of this thing now. He's got to go somewhere else. Because if he's here, well, 1, he gets zoned, and 2, Pendulum, we can tag him so we can't charge. So we'll pull up the Pendulum rules. I'm just reading it. It can move up to a distance, up to its move characteristic in a direction. Yeah. So basically, what this can do is, before he charges, go here and tag, and then he can't charge. But you'd have to set it up the turn prior, rather than cast and then move. So what you would be doing is casting on your turn. You just land it here. And then on his turn, he does the movement and he's trying to get away from it. That doesn't get away from it, because we just do it. We just do that in their turn, tag. So it's good at tagging rather than damage. It's very good tech. Krondspine I prefer because it's simpler to use. And it's an extra full unit. They can just unbind that and get rid of it. So it's gone. That's Cogs. If they're all in on Kroak and killing him, they can just unbind it, and we can't recast it. So we actually want to be countercasting it so they can't get rid of it. But why don't we just countercast Krondspine? So that's my answer. And the other question was, I've switched to Seraphon this year for playing Castle Kroak. Questions for next time. Do you think Crocs are a must-have? The answer is no, but I really like them. Is the Carnosaur a must-have? That's more of a bigger no. He could be considered a liability because he can be shot at as a monster, and he dies a lot easier. He's there for mobility, and he can be he's threat projection range. But he's definitely not a must-have. How a control/scoring skinks list work. All right, that's a different video. I'll just drop a list. The Nimblest skink. That is a control skink list, which I can run through another time. How does it work? We don't do much damage, but if all of our abilities go off, we can turn off their command point use, make them -1 save, so we get rend. Make them -1 save, so we get 2 rend. 80 shots, some tech with Huanchi, and speed. It's the best we can do. I can go through that another time. What's the difference to Thunderquake lists? I'll go through that another time, I think, because it is very different. Staying 2-drop or add in more to get 5-drop to get prior reroll. Yeah. Previously, I used to love to take high drops, like 5 or 6, and just see where the opponent's army is, and you can react better, set up. Now it's even better because you get a reroll usually against a double turn. We just don't have that in Seraphon. We cannot afford to take 5 heroes. We don't have heroes to take that are worth taking. We can't take multiple of these. 170s. Our cheapest hero is this guy for 100. We're going to take 3 of these when he doesn't really give us any effective buff at all. The stats on his buff improve our damage on units by 1 to 2. So the answer is no, for the fact that we can't even go 5-drop. Yeah, there's lists with 3 drops for sure. That's everything. I wanted to keep it short, but it ended up being longer. All right, cheers.